today we're here because the clerk's office, well, first, once a month, I give a community meeting. Our Project Hood has a community meeting. And this month, we are so blessed that we have Karen Yarborough's office, the clerk's office here, to present property after death form. And that is so important. And she's going to tell you, Robin Stagger is going to tell you why that is so important. But the first thing I would like to do is just welcome you. Thank you for coming. I know you could be a million other places, but you're here with us. Thank you for coming. First thing I want to do is let you know that Pastor Corey Brooks is so outstanding. I've been volunteering for him for many years, and I always wanted to get paid. So he offered me a job one day to come here when he could, and so now I work for him. But the reason I wanted to work for this guy, thank you. The reason I wanted to work for Pastor Corey Brooks is because he is truly a blessing to the community. He is out there in the vineyard making things happen, keeping it popping, the young folks say. As you know, we have been raising dollars to build a community center. So 10 years ago, you know, Pastor Corey Brooks was just tired of seeing this seedy hotel across the street from us where prostitution and dope dealing and everything else was going on. So what Pastor Brooks did was he got up on top of the roof to raise awareness of what was going on and raised enough money to buy the hotel and to have it torn down. So that was 10 years ago. And you know, a lot of people want to talk stuff because they're not in the arena doing stuff. That was 10 years ago. Pastor Corey Brooks ain't built no center yet. Well, I want y'all to know in less than 8 months, Pastor Corey Brooks raised $18 million to build a community center because the people heard the cry. And the cry is violence prevention, job opportunity. All of those things are important, and that's what we're doing here at Project Hood. So there is a young lady, and her name is, I put it on this sheet now, I don't have my glasses, I can't see her name. Shannon Avcock, Shannon Avcock from the Awake Illinois Advance non-for-profit is here to make a presentation to Pastor Corey Brooks. Now, she came about 3 hours ago, but I asked her to stay to do this because I had this public forum. So Shannon, would you come up and make the presentation because I want all these wonderful people to see that when you do good, people come and support you. And this organization saw need to come and give Pastor Corey Brooks a little token of appreciation. Shannon?
Thank you. Thanks so much for having me. I've so enjoyed being here. I can't believe, did I really get here 3 hours ago? I've been enjoying this so much. So Shannon Adcock with Awake Illinois, nonprofit that operates statewide. I'm just a mom, have 3 kids, and really woke up a couple years ago now when schools shut down, and I just saw that there was a need for people to really pay attention to what's happening in our communities and get engaged at the ground level. So I actually found out about Project Hood from our church, Compass Church, which is based out in Naperville. And they did this great video that was so inspiring when I learned about what Pastor Corey Brooks is doing here. So when Awake Illinois had the opportunity to raise funds at an event, we chose Project Hood as the charitable beneficiary. So I want to read something from this book. It's very inspiring to me. It's called You Can by George Matthew Adams. It was actually written in 1913, but the words of encouragement ring true today. So I just want to read this particular entry, and it's titled Faith. Have faith, first faith in yourself, then faith in this thing you set out to do, then faith in the result. Faith is the ability to believe you have won before you have. It's the art of beating the enemy, the obstacles, or the plan of your opposers before they have securely organized. For faith is to take victory in hand at the start. Have faith. The great stories of success from the beginning of time are but narratives of men and women, doers, who had faith. Faith feeds the hungry in adversity, clothes and warms the needy in temporary failure. For faith builds, it cannot destroy. Have faith. Your success is limited only by your faith. The results from faith live limitless. Take heart. Have faith. The only time people fail is when they lose faith. The pitcher in a ball game, the soldier on a battlefield, the leader in politics, the executive at the head of a task or business, the humblest toiler. Each goes ahead and does his best, only as he is inspired to do it by faith. First, as he has it, then as those about, under, or near him have faith in him. Have faith. And make it a vital part of your determination to win today. The most obscure worker is entitled to as great credit for results in proportion as the man who commands, so long as he has and uses all the faith he can muster. So remember to keep a good stock of faith on hand constantly. All this day long, have faith. There's no doubt in our minds that Pastor Corey Brooks and all of you here in this ministry have faith. So it's our pleasure on behalf of Awake Illinois to present you with the $4,000 check donation today.
Thank you. First of all, let me say thank you to everybody who's here today. Thank you to Awake for giving us this donation. It's because of organizations outside of our community contributing to our cause that are helping us to build a fabulous community center. If you came from the north today coming south, you saw across the street a big old machine and that we're really excited about on Tuesday. And I don't know what's wrong with this mic, Terrell, but it's got some feedback. I know what it is. Yeah, there we go. On Tuesday, across the street, there's a building that we own that we need to tear down in order to start getting ready for the community center. So on Tuesday, you all are the first to hear it, outside of people on streaming and Facebook. But on Tuesday, we're going to start tearing down that building. So we invite all of y'all to come out at 12 o'clock on Tuesday and witness a monumental occurrence that is going to take place and celebrate with us as we get ready to break ground in October to build a community center across the street. So please come out Tuesday. Thank you to the Cook County Clerk's Office for coming today and sharing with our community. It's vital, it's so vital, so important that we find out how to pass generational wealth down to our children and our children's children. Thank all of y'all for being here today. Thank Arinda for having a great meeting today that I know is going to take place. If you all ever need anything, please know that our church, New Beginnings Church, is here. We worship at 10 o'clock every Sunday. You're welcome to come out and be a part. But even if you don't come out to be a part and you're still a part of this community and you need us, please feel free to call us. Thank y'all so much. God bless you. Let's have a wonderful time. Ask some great questions. And if you need anything, just please let us know. All right, amen? All right. Bless y'all.
Thank you so much, Pastor, and thank you, Awake Illinois. Deborah, raise your hand, Deborah. Deborah is passing out some raffle tickets because we're going to give a few gifts out. So make sure if you didn't get a ticket that you get one. So the next thing on the agenda is, I was supposed to get my glasses, but I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to invite, so Senator Maddie Hunter, one of the sponsors as well, could not be here. She's at a conference, but Carla will tell you more about what's going on with Senator Hunter. She's at a legislative conference, but Carla is one of her administrative assistants, and she's going to speak on Senator Hunter's behalf. Carla, let's give her a hand.
Good morning, everyone. How are you? Good. I'm Carla Rogers from Senator Maddie Hunter's office, District Office Administrator. She's in the 3rd Legislative District, and our office is at 2929 South Wabash Avenue. The Senator is in Denver, Colorado this weekend with the National Legislators Conference. So that's where she is doing, they have the meetings and stuff for legislators all over the world, the state, to talk about different issues that are happening all over the state. Recently, Senator Harmon, who's the Senate office president, has held meetings with the Senate legislator. They are working on gun control and choice. And those were the recent meetings amongst other issues that they have been working on. The senator is opening this up to everyone. If you all have any issues that you would like to bring forth to the state legislator for them to consider, she would like for you all to reach out to us, our office, either by phone or email. Our phone number is 312-949-1908. Our email address is Senator, Senator, 03, and the 0 goes in front of the 3, District, DISTRICT, @gmail.com. And you can ask for me, Carla Rogers, and she thinks that's very important as we move forward, that the residents and the constituents of Chicago and her district have a say in what they'd like to see. So that is what she's opening it up to. So if you have any questions, you can also call our office. If you have any issues and need help with things, it's not just limited sometimes to legislative stuff. There are issues that you might have personally or things that you need help with. We would be able to direct you. If we're not your senator, we'll tell you who your senator is, but also with that, we would more than likely help you even if we aren't your senator. So that is what we do.
Very good. Let's give Carla a hand.
Oh, and wait a minute. Senator Hunter is having her 18th annual health fair next Saturday right there at 33rd and State and IIT. And everyone across the city, across the country, whoever comes is welcome. And it is from 10 a.m. until 2 p.m. and it's free. We'll have lots of vendors, giveaways, entertainment, the whole 9 yards. There are flyers outside on the table in the back, and there's also some office information on different bills and things that the senator does.
Now, let's give Carla a hand. So, those your glasses, Carla? So at least you got yours. So make sure you call the senator's office if you have a question. So we had three sponsors. I'm going to just ask this question because they may be here. Is the Alderman's office here? Is anybody here representing Alderman Jeanette Taylor? Okay. Is there anybody here representing Lamont Robinson's office, State Representative Lamont Robinson? Okay. So, Kadash, you're supposed to be taking care of the seating? So the next thing we're going to do, what we're doing is just doing some housekeeping before I bring up the main event, which will be in the next 5 minutes. So right now we're going to bring up CPD, Officer Struthers and Officer Taylor, and Sergeant Dixon was here, but I don't see him anymore. But the main people are Taylor and Strother. Okay, come on. I saw her doing this. I didn't know what that meant. Okay, and these guys are super duper guys because they're going to tell you about something that's really, really good.
Thank you, Ms. Troutman, for having us. Thank you, New Beginnings Church, for having us here in the neighborhood. A couple of things. We want to let you guys know that the Chicago Police Department is hiring, all right? And they are hiring for real. What that means is this. The Chicago Police Department, for the first time ever, have hired a recruitment and retention department. So my job and my partner job is to go out and recruit, predominantly from our neighborhoods. This is the first time ever. And so what you guys have asked for, you have gotten it, all right? And so your church and so many people have been just out trying to just get us police officers to come in the community and to hire from where? Within. And so we are doing exactly that. And so a couple of things I want to say right off the back is that we're going to have a police hiring event here. All right. And so as stakeholders, family and members of the community, we need for you to let your young people know 21, right, to 39 to come here. All right. And get hired. That event would be around the 2nd or 3rd of September. That's the next police hiring date. We will let you know. All right. Let me give you guys my number just in case you don't get the email from the church or whatever. My number is 773-484-0834. Send me a text and just say hiring event September. Let me give you my number again. 773-484-0834. Also, you can go to the website, chicagopolice.org. All right, but just keep those things in mind. We are hiring, and we're just simply out here spreading the word. All right. So if you know any young people, all right, 21 to 39, looking for a wonderful job, which I believe is the Chicago Police Department, have them reach out to us or go to the website. A few things I want to let you know as well before I close. The department have changed some hiring requirements. All right. So say, for example, if you have 3 years as a security officer, 3 years, all right, the Chicago Police Department will bring you on the team, all right? Obviously, right, you got to have a driver's license, all right? You got to have a good background. Don't have to be perfect, all right? If there's a misdemeanor, all right, the department is working on those things, all right? They will work with the candidate. And so it's not like the old days, all right? You don't have to have connections, all right? You just have to be willing to just serve the city of Chicago. Those are there's some other changes. I wish I had more time to go over those changes. I will on September the 2nd or 3rd. We'll keep you posted regarding that. Anything else, partner, we should add? Did I cover everything? All right. So again, we'll leave flyers out on the back table. Please grab those. And again, you guys have my number. You can reach out to me, or again, you can reach out to New Beginnings Church or Ms. Troutman. She have my email. She have my phone number as well. Please reach out and hope to have someone in your family, someone in the community patrolling this neighborhood within the next 6 months or a year. So thank you guys for listening.
All right, I love officer friendly. You remember when we called them officer friendly back in the day? That's the old folks know that. Now the young people don't say they too friendly, but they are. And change comes from being a part of. So we're going to take that information and tell the young people so they can become part of the change. Thank you so much, Officer Taylor and Officer Strugger. Okay, now I'm just gonna recognize Attorney London is over here. Let's give him a hand. He came out. And next to you is a gentleman from the clerk's office, and I didn't. Kane Trent. Kane Trent, let's give him a hand. And then the clerk has a whole bunch of people out in the back, so make sure y'all go to those tables and get some of the goodies. She got a lot of goodies out there. And then we have Attorney General's office represented by Skip Gosselin. Skip, you probably saw him when you came in. He has a table full of good information for you as well. And Skip came and gave a presentation a couple of months ago and was real well received, and we probably will have him back again. Right now, I'm gonna bring up a special person, Robin Stagger, who is the special assistant to the clerk, Clerk Karen Yarborough. And so Ms. Stagger, for the last couple of months, we've been working on bringing this presentation to you. And I have come to love her because she has worked diligently to get this thing off the ground. So Robin, let's give her a round of applause. The presentation will begin. Thank you.
Well, how's everybody? Everybody's great. Thank you for coming out this afternoon to be with us. I cannot express my appreciation enough to Arinda. She is a phenomenal part of this ministry, and I really appreciate working with her. She did the footwork, she did the phone work, she did the media work, she did it all, and she was such a tremendous pleasure to work with to bring this forum to your community. Thank you, Pastor Corey Brooks, before I move forward, for having us here and hosting us with Project Hood. Thank all of you for taking out of your time to come here and hear what we have to say. So, how many people here like free? So what we're bringing to you today is a free program. The Cook County Clerk's Office, let me cover this. How many of you know what the Cook County Clerk's Office does? What? You have an African American Cook County Clerk? Did you know that? And you don't know what she does? Oh my God, so let me tell you. So, we have a number of programs in the Cook County Clerk's Office that are free. This presentation we're bringing to you today is free information for you to take advantage of. People perish for what? The lack of knowledge. So we're bringing some knowledge to you that you can take advantage of. How many people in here are veterans? We got three veterans in the house. Have you seen our Director of Veterans Affairs in the back? You can get a free veterans discount card through our office. All you have to do is fill out the form. Brian will take your picture. We'll send the discount card to you, and you can take advantage of over 120 vendors that we partner with. Did you know that? So if you have veterans in your household, tell them about our free program. We also register your DD-214s free in our office. So if anything happens to you, your registered DD-214 can be accessed by your family members so that they can get a hold of your benefits. I think it's much quicker than going to the VA. Brian can give you a certified copy. and you can take it and have access to your benefits. We also have our elections department here. Lamont is here with us from our elections team. How many of you know that our elections department is hiring? We hire people on election day. You can make $200 for the day as an election judge, or you can make $360 as a polling place technician. One day's pay, isn't that good? So take advantage of the programs. How many are registered voters? Yes, awesome. So those of you who are not registered voters, you can register here with us today. Lamont can sign you up to be a registered voter. And we're also signing up high schoolers, those who will be 18 on their birthday prior to 17, prior to their birthday, prior to the election date. They can sign up and be voters. So we got a lot of programs going on in the clerk's office. So today I'm going to tell you a little bit about the other things that we do. Carlos is here from our media team, so he's recording all of this. As I said before, people perish for the lack of knowledge. And Clerk Yarbrough has been very passionate over the years to bring information to our communities, because we found that our folks are losing their homes because they are not prepared to transfer their properties to their loved ones. So we have Ted London here, who is an estate planning attorney, and he has agreed to partner with us on these events so that he can help us get the word out, answer legal questions that you may have with regard to your estate. Now, how many have a will? How many have a trust? How many have nothing at all? Oh, see, you're in the right place at the right time. We're going to bring this presentation to you to let you know that you can transfer your home, your car, and your bank account without a will, without a trust, no legal fees, in some cases, no probate. Did you know that? You're learning. Good, good, good. That's what we're here for. We also have Kang Trinh here. How many of you know that your property can be stolen? It's happening nationwide. People are stealing people's property, and it's called paper terrorism. They're taking your property, putting their name on it, and they take out a loan, you get the bill. Okay, so Kang Trinh is from our legal team at the Cook County Clerk's Office, and we have a free program called Property Fraud Alert. He is the deputy clerk for that department. We have a team of legal investigators that if you suspect that your property has been stolen, you can call them, they can research it and find out what's going on, okay? So what we're going to do now is get on with our presentation that will tell you about Property Fraud Alert and Property After Death, our transfer on death instrument. And if you have any questions, you can ask us after the presentation. One more thing, housekeeping. Please turn your cell phones off, put them on mute so that it does not interfere with the flow of the presentation. If you haven't been here before, washrooms are out the double doors or triple doors and to your left. At the end of the presentation, you will be allowed an opportunity to ask questions. What we're going to attempt to do is ask you to put your questions down on those index cards that you got when you came in. Reduce them to paper. You didn't get index cards? Well, we'll make sure you get them. So after this presentation, before we go into the Q&A, I'll make sure that our team, Lindsay and Brian, pass out index cards to you with pens, okay? So, any questions? Not yet? Okay, let's go on with the show.
Hello and welcome. I'm Karen Yarbrough, your Cook County Clerk. Thank you for joining us for this presentation on property fraud and managing your property after death. The Cook County Clerk's Office is one of the largest consolidated clerk's offices in the entire nation. In addition to functioning as the chief election authority for suburban Cook County, we maintain birth, marriage, and death records, and we assist property owners in redeeming delinquent taxes. We also have a recording operations division that records and stores land records and other official documents, which includes deeds, transfer on death instruments, and real estate documents. Now, nobody wants to talk about death or end-of-life planning, but it's a critical issue when it comes to managing your assets to protect your family and your loved ones. And we all need to be aware of the threat of property fraud and how we can guard against this type of financial crime. At the Cook County Clerk's Office, we are here to serve, and we hope that this information you received today will be helpful on these important issues that impact all of our daily lives. Now, I'd like to introduce you to my trusty assistant who will guide us through this presentation.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Before we begin our discussion, we want to let you know that we will have volunteer attorneys available at the end of the presentation who can answer your questions about the topics we will be covering. If you are joining our program via Zoom and have questions that come up during the presentation, simply type your question in the Q&A section through your Zoom link and the attorneys will respond accordingly. Now, let's begin our discussion by talking about property fraud, which can also be known as deed fraud. So, what exactly is property fraud? Property fraud is the fraudulent and illegal recording of a document against your home's property records. We call it paper terrorism, and it's a very real problem and potential risk for all property owners. How can this happen? Almost every state has an open and public recording system, meaning that you cannot freeze your chain of title like you can your credit report. Plus, county recorders are not authorized by law to validate legal claims made in documents. Property fraud can involve the recording or filing of false or forged transfers of ownership, quitclaim deeds, or the filing of a bogus lien to steal property or harass an unsuspecting property owner. Even if your home is paid off, that does not stop someone from filing a new deed on top of it without the property owner's knowledge. Let's look at this NBC5 investigative report that takes a close look at how property fraud can occur.
By law, it is a line anyone can stand in and a fee anyone can pay. $40 is all it takes to get a deed or other document officially recorded in Cook County. A simple perk of open government openly abused by serious scammers.
I think they call them, financial parasites.
She was new to her office as recorder of deeds when Karen Yarborough says she first spotted the trouble.
To steal a home, all you have to do is doctor some paperwork up and Photoshop it, bring it to the recorder's office, record it, voila, you own a home.
Con artists exploiting a system that relies on the honesty of those who use it, recording forged documents in order to steal a home outright. Sound far-fetched?
This is a kind of crime that I never imagined that could happen.
It did to Chicago Treasurer Stephanie Neely until it happened to her.
I get this call, I'm like, what do you mean someone has changed the name on my deed? What do you mean? How did they do that?
In her case, a stranger recorded a fraudulent deed, waited until she was at work, and then changed the lock.
They want to physically be in your house, because once they're there, it's very difficult to get them out.
Precisely what happened to this Chicago woman.
This individual had paperwork that was Xerox that showed the deed was in his name.
She asked us to conceal her identity because
you're in constant fear that they will try something next, because believe it or not, they did come back 3 days later.
One man connected to her case was arrested and convicted. as the recorder's office continued to field fake documents.
I decided that I couldn't sit idly by and watch this happen.
Yarborough brought in this man,
They believe that the government created artificial duplicates of all of us.
an expert on sovereign citizens, the extreme anti-government movement often behind this crime.
They believe they can completely ignore our government and do whatever they want to do with impunity.
Pitkavich calls it paper terrorism and teaches the red flags, like the punctuation sovereigns add in the middle of names, the refusal to use mainstream addresses or zip codes, and how they employ lengthy, arcane terms. The flurry of documents they file may be fake, but their threat is real.
They're bullies. They're brazen. They think that nothing can touch them.
A lot of times they'll come in and overwhelm our frontline staff. You know, it may be 20 of them will come in.
Yarborough has a catchy comparison she uses to get a non-believer's attention. In Illinois, it is easier to steal a home than it is to steal a car.
It's fraud and, you know, they're taking people's homes.
So there is now a simple way for some homeowners to protect themselves, the free property fraud alert system. You load your property index number, then you get an alert if any document is recorded in connection with your property. Counties across the country are now turning to this kind of system as these cases of mortgage and property fraud continue to grow. Lisa Parker, NBC5, investigates.
To combat this problem, Clerk Yarborough created a property fraud unit with investigators and caseworkers who respond to and investigate any complaints of property fraud. The clerk's office also offers a free property fraud alert that will provide a telephone call or email to the property owner anytime a document is recorded against their property or the property of a loved one. There are 3 easy ways to sign up for the clerk's free property fraud alert. You may sign up in person at the clerk's office, you can sign up online, or you can sign up with a telephone call. Once registered, if you receive an alert or have a reason to be concerned about property fraud, you can contact the clerk's property fraud unit and our staff can help research the problem and coordinate a response. Call 312-603-4000 or visit our website at cookcountyclerk.com/property fraud. On a related note, while we're on the topic of your chain of title and fraud, property owners often need to obtain an official copy of their property deed when purchasing a home or for tax purposes. You should be aware there is a predatory practice aimed at homeowners in which companies offer a copy of your property's deed at a large markup price, sometimes exceeding $200. The clerk's office wants to remind you that we offer the same service starting at just $6. So there's no reason to pay exorbitant prices to gain access to these essential documents. Now, let's move on to the second part of our program, which is making plans to manage your property and assets in the event of your death. As Clerk Yarborough noted, no one wants to talk about death or end-of-life planning, but it's critical to manage your assets to protect your family and loved ones. Having a sound end-of-life plan is one of the greatest gifts that you can provide to your children and family members. Consider this. What do you think these 3 legendary individuals have in common? Prince, Aretha Franklin,
87 years ago, our fathers
and Abraham Lincoln. Actually, they have something very unfortunate in common. They failed to make plans for their assets upon their death. No will, no trust, and no plan. Now, let's consider someone who thought he had it right. Music legend James Brown, the Godfather of soul. When he passed away in 2006, Brown's estate was worth an estimated $90 million. When he died, Brown left behind a plan for most of his estate to pay for scholarships for children in need in South Carolina, the state where he was born. But that will was challenged by family members after his death, resulting in more than 12 lawsuits. It took more than a decade of litigation before Mr. Brown's assets were designated as he had intended. So how do you get it right when it comes to your property after death? The best advice is to consult an attorney or estate planning professional to provide you with advice for your specific circumstances. But you should also know that under Illinois law, you can transfer your home, your car, or your bank account to a loved one without a will or a trust, and without having to pay any fees or court costs. Here are the details on how to transfer your property. First, a transfer on death instrument. The clerk's office has a free document on our website known as a transfer on death instrument. We call it a TODI. You can also obtain this document at no cost from any attorney or legal aid organization. The form should be completed and notarized and then recorded at the clerk's office in our Recording Operations Division. The transfer on death instrument will then be recorded on your property's chain of title, and, upon your death, the person designated to receive your property can do so after completing the required forms. Please note that the clerk's office cannot assist you in the preparation of a transfer on death instrument or any legal document. We do not provide legal advice to customers. Next, let's discuss a payable on death instrument. You can transfer the funds from your local bank account in a similar way. Utilizing a tool known as Payable on Death Instrument, a person can transfer assets in a bank account to the beneficiary of their choosing after death. A Payable on Death Instrument can be obtained and used at most financial institutions for checking and savings accounts, as well as certificates of deposits, CDs, money markets, and savings bonds. Even if you have completed a Payable on Death Instrument, the account holder has full control of their funds in the account until the time of their death. When the account holder passes, the beneficiary can claim specified assets directly from the financial institution without having to wait for probate court proceedings. Finally, let's discuss a beneficiary affidavit. There is also a mechanism to transfer your car to a designated beneficiary. A vehicle owner may change, add, or remove a beneficiary on the title of their car by completing a free beneficiary affidavit through the Illinois Secretary of State's office. To obtain this beneficiary affidavit, go to the Illinois Secretary of State website at www.ilsos.gov. Keep in mind that if money is still owed on your home or vehicle at the time of your death, your beneficiary will be responsible for the mortgage and payments moving forward. On behalf of Clerk Karen Yarborough, we hope that you have found this presentation useful. The clerk's office is your first line of defense against property fraud, so we hope that you will take this opportunity to sign up for our free property fraud alert if you have not already done so. Managing your property and your assets in the event of your death is also critical to protecting your family and your assets, and to ensure that your wishes are carried out after your death. A copy of this presentation is available on the clerk's website if you would like to review it again or share with a friend or family member. Please visit www.cookcountyclerk.com/PAD resources to review the presentation. Now let's ask the volunteer attorneys who are joining us to introduce themselves, and we will open up our presentation for your questions.
So now we're going to give you the opportunity to ask questions of our resident attorneys right now, but I am so sorry I forgot to introduce Ms. Pashola from Legal Aid Chicago. They offer free legal services, and you can take advantage of them, ask questions of them after the presentation. And she's available at the back table by our table. Now, at this time, we're going to collect your questions, which are on your index cards. And we're going to give them to the attorneys so that they can address any of your legal questions. No questions? Oh, you write them out, okay. No, I want you to write them out because we need to document questions.
So while you're writing down your questions, I do want to say a couple of things that I learned. So we know we're not going to get a copy of the deed from anybody else but the clerk's office, recorder deeds office or the clerk's office, because it's $6 from them and somebody else can charge you a whole lot more and have your information. And with all this fraud alert, we don't want anybody to steal our property, right? So that was one thing. Go ahead.
So at this time, Attorney London would like to make some statements, and then we'll collect the cards and give them to the attorneys.
You're welcome.
Good afternoon, everyone. Hi, I'm Attorney Ted London. Welcome, welcome, welcome to this event. Before I give some information, I'd like to first take the opportunity to ask you all to give an applause to all the gentlemen here. Let's give the men here an applause. Because it is so hard to get these men out to do anything, let alone to come and hear about some estate planning stuff. But I also want to say to you ladies are the decision makers. So this information is so vitally important to you because you ladies are the ones who are going to be driving these decisions for your family. And not just for your family, but for sometimes your parents, sometimes even for your children, sometimes for your siblings. So please pass this information along because so often people have so much misinformation, and it's really critical because the African American community in particular, we are losing so much value in our real estate simply because we just don't make good decisions, oftentimes because we just don't have information. Many of you and many other African American people are really what they call equity rich. Some of you, I don't know, I'm sure you probably didn't win that lotto because you probably wouldn't be here today. But some of you have really done well for yourselves and your property is really, really appreciating. There is gentrification going on in some of our communities, even around here there is. So you have to really make sure that you are protecting your property and that you have set it up so your property can go to your children, your grandchildren. And again, it can be all of them or just the good one. That's your choice. But you do have to make sure that you have done some planning because many of you have worked very hard over your lifetimes. You have fought for these properties, you've paid interest, taxes, and it's shameful, really, that some people don't do the planning and spend the little money to make sure that these properties, who really have a lot of equity, hundreds of thousands of dollars. I met with a lady last week, she showed me the deed for a property. She paid $32,000 for the property. It's worth $450,000 now. So some of you have done really, really well with these properties. Please take the time and the information and spend a little bit of money to protect these properties for your children and your grandchildren. There are some questions here. I'll read them and then one of us will answer these questions. Let's see. The homeowner has many children. What's the best way to dispose of the property? Well, again, so the question is, what's the best way to dispose of the property if you have many children? Well, I just made the inference. You can leave the property to all of the children or just the good one. The issue is, how do you do it? Well, there are a number of ways. Well, you can use a transfer on death instrument. That is one way that is going to keep your property out of probate court. But there are other ways as well. There is the land trust, for example, which ordinarily I suggest that my clients put their property in a land trust. Or there's even a living trust for some of you because you may have special needs loved ones, children, people who are collecting SSI benefits that you don't want to jeopardize, but you still want them to get the benefit of the property. So again, here's the big thing from all of this, and if you don't get anything else from this meeting other than this from Attorney Ted London, is you don't want a will. No wills, because if you have a will, that absolutely categorically will send your loved ones through the expensive, time-consuming probate process. And really, the whole idea of efficient estate planning is to avoid probate court. A will not keep your things out of probate court. A will send your things through the expensive, time-consuming, stressful probate process. And again, that is where the children go and fight over your properties, and that's where attorneys like me are really happy about it because I end up doing pretty well. So keep your things out of probate court. And the way you do it is get good information, probably from an attorney. How do you file the paperwork for the change of ownership for sons? Is that the question? How do you change? I'm sorry? Cars. Well, normally in my estate planning practice, if a car is paid for, I typically advise my clients to sign the title to the car and put it in the estate planning documents regarding your home and some other important things. So if you sign the title, when a person goes to be with their ancestors, the title is already signed, and the loved ones who's going to be entitled to the car will merely sign it, take it to the Secretary of State's office, record it, and then the car is transferred very easily without some additional expenses to transfer the car. If there is no title to the car because the car is not paid for, you cannot then sign the title, and there's not much you can do about it, and then the family will have to deal with that once the person passes away. What bank financing your home, how does it affect you upon death? Another good question. I'm going to interpret some of these questions because I'm familiar with these questions. So the question appears to be, if a person passes away, what happens to the mortgage? That's a good question. I talked to a lady that called my office the other day, and she told me she had spoken with another attorney, and her mom had passed away. It's a 3-flat building, there is a mortgage on it, and she told me the other attorney told her, do not pay the mortgage. I could not believe that. Now, here's what's interesting. That is not the first time I've heard attorneys misinform people about what to do when someone passes away relating to the mortgage. I'll say this about lawyers. There's a million different lawyers, and there's a million different ways to do things. You do have to make sure that you find a lawyer that speaks clearly to you and makes sense to you. If it doesn't make sense, even some of these lawyers are giving you misinformation, okay? And so when it comes to a mortgage, if a person has passed away and there is an existing mortgage on the property, you have to pay the mortgage. Do not let that mortgage get delinquent, because if it gets delinquent, if it goes into a foreclosure process, then they're not going to accept just the 4 or 5 months, 6 months back mortgage payment any longer. They're going to want the whole amount. And I've seen properties lost that have really hundreds of thousands of dollars in equity in the property, and the people did not pay the mortgage 4 or 5 or 6 months, a foreclosure complaint is filed, and then they lose literally hundreds of thousands of dollars in net equity, which is real money, simply because oftentimes they have misinformation and it causes a great loss. And then other people come in and they scoop these properties up and they make a killing on them. So the bottom line is, if someone passes away and there is a mortgage on the property, pay the mortgage. Here's another part of that. Your name is not going to be on the mortgage. You don't have to call the mortgage company and say, Mom, Dad, loved one has passed away. They're not really interested in that so much. They just want the what? The money. So don't be delinquent in paying the mortgage if someone passed away, there's a mortgage. Here's the good news though. Many of you don't have mortgages on your property. Many of you have very little owed on the property in relation to how much the property is worth. Again, many of you don't even know that you are what's called equity rich. And here's what the definition of equity rich is. Equity rich is that you owe less than half of the value of the home. Again, I have so many of our clients who are typically 70, 75, 80 years old. In the last week or so, we have had more 90-year-olds in our office. I don't know why. One lady 95, one lady 93, another lady 90. Don't know why you people are waiting until you're 90 to get some of this stuff done. Please don't wait that long. But the good news is people are living longer. But some of you are really equity rich, you don't realize it. And oftentimes our clients, black people, retired people, homeowners, oftentimes our clients are long-term married couples, 50, 55, 60 years. They actually have accumulated more dollar value in property, savings account, mutual funds than they even realize. So some of you have done better than you even know until you sit down and start adding it all up. You can answer any one of these questions too. Got it. So question is, can you transfer property to a minor? The short answer is no. You cannot transfer property to minors. You cannot leave minors as beneficiaries on your account. Because if you leave a minor property, they are not old enough to sign documents. They can't sign legal documents. So if you leave a property to a minor, then what's going to happen is someone's going to have to go through the probate process to be appointed their guardian to manage the property for them, which is all costing a lot of money. So this is why one would need what's called a living trust, because in a living trust, you can name someone in the document to manage the property for the minor, and you can say in that document when they get a certain age, 25, 30, 21, whatever you decide it to be, then they take over the management of the building or the property without having to go through the expensive, time-consuming guardianship process for a minor. Give you an example. Had one client, dad passed away, left a $100,000 life insurance policy to a minor child. Well, mom cannot collect that money for the child. She has to spend a lot of money to me to go in the court to name her the guardian of her biological child, to collect the money, to put into a minor's account that cannot be touched until the child is 18 years old. And then the child gets the money in a lump sum at 18 years old, and what's the first thing they're gonna do? Buy a car. And I can't be mad at them at that because I do the same thing, okay? But that's probably not the way you want the money to be managed. And here's another thing, the parent doesn't get any of the benefit of that money to help raise the child. And so there are ways that you can plan for these things if you want to leave money to a child, if you want to leave real estate to a children or grandchildren. People love their grandchildren, so they're mindful of them, but you have to do it in a proper way, not to cause them to put what you have worked for really decades in all of your life at risk in a matter of 30, 60, 90 days once you've gone to heaven. More questions? Are you able to come to the office and get your deed?
So the first thing you want to check before you come to our office to get your deed is look at your closing documents. You probably have the original deed that was recorded, and it might be in your safety deposit box. It might be a manila envelope that you left and you put someplace. So that's a very important document. What we have are the official copies of the recorded deed. And you can come to our downtown location, and it will cost you $10 for a non-certified copy, $20 for a certified copy. If your deed was recorded and you bought your property before 1985, you actually have to come to our archive section. It's actually an archival document. And so you just tell our security, you're going to the concourse level, and our concourse level archivist will help you find your deed. Hopefully that answers your question. Thank you.
Here is another question. What to do with your home if your child doesn't want the home? Well, sometimes you have to save your children from themselves because they don't even know that, yes, they do want the home. Even if they don't want to live in the home, these homes have value, a lot of value. $175,000, $225,000, $300,000 or more. Here's what's interesting to me with our clients. So many of our clients, again, my office is on 87th Street, just east of Stony Island, so we have our clients are black folks. These are middle class people who have come up from Mississippi, Arkansas. They've done well for themselves. They got jobs. They raised their children. They paid for their homes. And yes, a lot of the kids have been educated. They've moved out of the city, moved out of their neighborhoods, moved out of the state. But the homes are paid for. They still have value. Even if the kid doesn't think that they want the home because they don't want to live in the home because they have their own home, they've moved out of the state, that's still $200,000, $225,000, $250,000 that you are leaving them. So they may need to know, this home has a lot of value, son or daughter. You don't have to live in it, but I'm going to leave it to you so you can sell it and get the benefit of it, as opposed to just letting the home be squandered. Because I don't know about you guys, but $250,000 is a lot of money. That's a lot. I am always so fascinated because I can't imagine that some of my clients, their parents could have never realized that they have the kind of wealth and the equity and 2 bathrooms, a garage door opener, flat screen TVs, because they grew up in Mississippi, Arkansas, picking cotton. And now they're 75 years old and they got $500,000, homes paid for, pensions for a lifetime. And so don't squander all of that because, again, sometimes the children, they just don't have the wisdom. And sometimes even some of us seniors don't have the wisdom on how to pass these things on. So that's why I'm telling you, this meeting is not just for you. You have to share the information with your neighbors, your friends, your family, your aunts and uncles, because there's a lot of equity in the African American community all across the country. Had a client in Washington, D.C., she bought a house at $50,000 worth $1.2 million. That's a lot of money. So there's big changes going on with the values all around the country, and it is happening in the black communities as well. And sometimes we just don't know the value of our properties, but please, please, please don't squander them. Got it. Okay, if a mother's living with her son that purchased the property, what needs to happen if he dies before the mother? So that's just, so the question is, if a son owns a home, the mom lives with him, what happens if the son passes before the mother? What's the exact same thing if a mother owns a home and the son lives with her? You need some estate planning. You need to have the home in a position, whether it's a transfer on death instrument, whether it's a land trust or a living trust. It depends on what you're trying to accomplish. But the bottom line is you have to do something. You have to talk to someone, get information, let them know what you're trying to accomplish, and let them help you do it. Please don't be penny wise and nickel foolish. Again, you guys have $200,000 homes, $250,000 homes. Some of you homes are $350,000, $400,000, and you guys got hundreds of thousands of dollars in the bank. Now, I've been doing this long enough to spot you. Don't make me stand up and point you out, okay? Because some of you have done really well for yourselves, and please take the time to get your things in order. Here is what we hear time and time and time again when people are leaving our office. I am so relieved. We hear this every day, 5 times a day. And what that lets me know is you have been thinking about this for a long time, and you're just now coming to get it. So you come around in your own time to do it, but please, don't procrastinate, because that's a primary reason why people don't get these things done is procrastination. And on occasion, time will catch up with you and it'll leave your family in a jam. And then if you don't do this and they have to come see an attorney, well, again, it's going to be a good day for the attorney. So try to avoid that. What happens if the person left your property? Okay, what happens if the person who left property who dies gets the property? I have 6 children, want to leave my sister in charge. What happens if the person who, yes. Okay. Got it. Okay, so that's a great point. So what she needs is, she needs to have what I mentioned earlier. She needs to have what's called a living trust. So she needs to transfer property into a living trust so she can name 1, 2, or 3 successive people to manage the property and manage it for the benefit of someone, her children who have SSI. And then the property she can put in the property, she can give them what's called a life estate, where the property can't be sold for their lifetime and is used for their benefit. And then once they pass away, it can go be sold, money divided, except how it will be. So she needs what's called a living trust, okay? Very straightforward document, very efficient to accomplish what it sounds like she wants to accomplish. Typically, people are going to need what's called a living trust if they're leaving money or real estate to people with special needs, if they're leaving money to minor children, or some of our clients have done really well and they don't want their children to get the money in a lump sum. So they set it up in a living trust so they can really control after they pass away. Control from heaven is what I like to call it. So, but you can manage these things, but you have to do them while you're alive, and you have to do them while you're competent, because we get a lot of calls and people want us to do some estate planning things for their parents, sometimes even for their spouses, but they are no longer competent. So you got to do it while you're competent. Okay.
We got the question that says, I received calls asking if I want to sell my property. Are these examples of individuals attempting to commit fraud, or are they investors' goals to gentrify certain neighborhoods? Well, we can't really talk about the intent of a caller. I'll give you an example of a situation. It's a mortgage foreclosure, and these investors from another state, they come in, and they get the owner to sign some documents, and they promise that they'll pay that owner $5,000. The owner signs all these documents, including a deed. Months later, the owner then realizes what happens, because to get a knock on the door, there's a person there collecting rent from them. So they call us. Now, unfortunately, that person didn't provide us with all the facts, and we went and investigated it, but you see what could potentially happen is that sometimes you have people out there and they're looking at all the public records and they'll swoop in. And it's on you to make sure that, you know, if you've got any questions about some transactions, go to your lawyer. You know, and it's worthwhile the effort, and have a situation where you get this knock on the door and you sign all these documents. So hopefully that helps answer that question.
Well, again, it is a good question because, again, as I'm just saying, that property in the African-American community is appreciating just like it is all over the city. And again, sometimes we undervalue our property. Heck, property in Inglewood is skyrocketing. Okay, but the value of property in Inglewood is skyrocketing. So can you imagine the property around Obama Museum, South Shore, and some of these other areas? These properties are skyrocketing, so you have to make sure that you are doing your due diligence and making plans, because it is true, you cannot take it with you. And everyone talks about generational wealth and legacies. The only way you can leave a legacy is if you do the planning while you're living. Otherwise, you're going to come to some lawyer like me, and I'm going to be leaving a legacy for my children. And so I'm just giving you the information, okay? And then if you want to take it downtown to LaSalle Street, then you're going to be sending their kids to Harvard. So why don't you make sure you're taking care of your children and your own grandchildren? Here's a question. Should I advise the family members that I've done some estate planning? That appears to be the question. Well, the answer is you do have to let someone know that you've done the estate planning, and they have to know where the documents are. Now, you don't have to tell them exactly what's in them, and you don't have to tell all of the children. You know, you want to just keep it to the good one, okay, or two. Okay, but someone needs to know that you've done the estate planning, and yes, they do need to know where the documents are. Is there a YouTube link to the presentation we just seen?
So yes, we'll have that link on our website. So it's cookcountyclerkil.gov, and we have all of the presentations on our website.
What's the cost of establishing a trust? You know what, I never like to talk about cost, because people need to come in and find out what you want to accomplish. All costs are variable depending on how many properties you have. Are you married? Are you single? What are you trying to accomplish? The most important part is for you to go in, have a consultation with the lawyer, get the information, and then you can make good decisions. You have to have good information so you can make good decisions. So find a lawyer, whether it's Ted London, if you already have a lawyer that can help you with this information, make the time to go and see them. And again, I say this to you ladies because you ladies are the ones who drive these things for the families. You are caregivers. And again, if you ladies aren't making sure that you are in a position to manage things for your family members, then you're the ones going to be in a lot of stress, because you're going to be caring for your husbands, you're going to be caring for sometimes your parents, because we know these dang old men, they are not doing it. Okay? So this is for you ladies here. And again, that's why I started by giving applause to the men, because anytime you see men, I'm always happy to see men, because they're making an extra effort. And so I'm always grateful to see the men. My grandmother died 20 years ago due to medical bills. They put a lien on the property. Is there a statute of limitations on the lien? That is a question I can't answer. Normally, can you answer that question? You know what? It depends. That is a good question. I'm rarely stumped. I'm stumped here. But whoever wrote this question, if you call my office, I'll have an answer for you on Monday. If you call my office after, I'll keep this question. If you call my office on Monday, I'll give you one of these. I'll have an answer for you on Monday. Yes, sir. Can you share the process for completing a TOTI? And what happens if I bring it downtown to the office?
So I'll tell you what the basic recording requirements are. So we have the TOTI forms available for you, and you've got to make sure that you fill everything out correctly. And correctly is very important. So there's a place where we ask for a legal description on a form. And here's what I've seen happen time and again. People will describe their home, literally. Single family home, 2-bedroom, 1 bath, furnished basement. That is not a legal description. And so if you find yourself in that kind of spot, get yourself some competent legal counsel, because at that point you have trouble filling out this form. And think about if that gets through to be recorded. Now, we'll pick that off and we'll reject it, but what if that actually goes through? What if you record a document that has these technical, legal problems, and now you're gone, and now your beneficiaries look at this document, and now they're going to court fighting over it. So to record a document, the toady is a $50 flat fee. You can come downtown, we'll record it to you same day. Again, as long as all of the information you filled out properly. We can't review your document for legal accuracy. And that's really important to keep note of. So you can come downtown, you can mail it in as well, but it's best to come downtown, get your same day recording.
My question is, a legal description, isn't that on your taxes? That's the legal description on your deed and your taxes. But now, they can only answer so much, the county people, but we do have the free legal person back here, and then we have Mr. London. As you can see, he has a wealth of knowledge. You got some real stuff going on. You probably need to see this man. He is. Let's give him a hand answering all these questions like a pro. I'm glad I'm here.
Well, yes.
So I'd like to definitely clarify on what our responsibilities are in the clerk's office and why we can't check for your legal accuracy or legal validity. So we're like a library, basically. So anybody can come in and record a document as long as it meets certain basic recording requirements. And some of those basic recording requirements are, for example, is there a mail-to address? It could be a totally wrong address. And that's happened before, where I've had people come in after they've recorded and say, hey, my mail-to address, I put it to an address it was in Colorado. It was supposed to be here locally. And it isn't, unfortunately, the way the state law is structured, it's not something that I can question. And so if a person, for example, misspells a name, that's a pretty severe substantive issue, I would say. We can't tell you there, look at it and say, hey, you misspelled that name. All right, so we're like a library. And people take a book and they bring it to the library and then we put it into place. And that's what we do. So hopefully that helps everyone understand what we do and why it's like that. And I think that goes into another question here. I'd like to take this. The question is, why can't the clerk's office prevent false documents from being filed? And that dovetails right into what we had just talked about, is that we don't get to question on the front, and I call it the front end. When you come in and you record a document, we can't question or try to determine whether that document is legally valid or if you have a legal right to record it. And that happens many times. People come in and they'll bring in all kinds of proofs to say that I have the right to be here to record that document, but it isn't actually what we check for. And so that's really important to remember that, and that's why we have that free fraud alert. So sign up for it. And what that does is that if there's a document that's recorded and then indexed against your property, you get a free alert. Either you can sign up for an email or a phone call, or you can sign up for both, and it's free. And you can do it today. Sign up, we'll take those forms and we'll get you signed up.
Attorney King works for the county, so he has to be diplomatic. I work for myself, so I don't have to be politically correct. And so here's the bottom line. Do not fill these documents out on your own, because if you do and you make an error, then they are void. They are invalid. And then that means your family's going to have to come to some lawyer to me. And here's the good news about that. I'm a tither, so I say, thank you, Jesus, amen. Okay? Because I'm going to charge you. You're going to be charged. And you're going to end up paying more on the back end than you would have paid on the front end. So, again, it's worth spending the money to get good information and make good decisions. 9 times out of 10, when I review documents that people have prepared on their own, they are wrong. like he said, if you even misspell a name, then that's going to almost be an invalid document, and someone may lose out on tens or hundreds of thousands of dollars. You know what, I want to take a quick opportunity to express to you a couple of other things that you must have in your estate planning package. Everyone has to have power of attorneys for themselves. There are two. There's one for healthcare, one for business matters. You all need to have someone in a position to make healthcare and business decisions for you. If you don't have them and you find yourself in a position where you need someone to manage your affairs, manage healthcare decisions, they're going to have to go through the probate process to be appointed your guardian. Very expensive, very complicated, very easy to avoid just by having the power of attorneys. And again, I say this to you ladies again, because you are the decision maker. So if there is a parent in your family, mom or dad, grandparents sometimes even, you know what, we see a lot of sisters taking care of their brothers and other sisters. So to you ladies, if you are looking down the road and you're seeing that I'm going to need to be able to, in a position to help him or her down the road, make sure you have the legal documentation to be able to do it. And those are power of attorneys. There's two of them, one for healthcare, one for business matters. One last comment on that is, even married couples need them for one another. Just because you're married for 50 years does not give you the right to make health care nor business decisions for one another without the power of attorney document. So ladies, please make sure you have those things in order, not just for yourself, but for your loved ones that you may end up having to care for down the road. What happens to proceeds when a divorce is in process? Well, that's going to be managed by the divorce judge. And so once a divorce proceeding has been initiated, everything's going to be managed through the court. So you'd have to wait until that matter settles and see what you're going to be entitled to, and then you would do your estate plan for the portion that you have. You know what, I'm going to say the one thing about the divorce. Here's one of the things that I noticed about being an estate planning lawyer in the African American community. People who stay married for those 40 and 50 and 60 years, the research suggested, and I know it for a fact, they end up doing really well for themselves. So, you know what, all those years aren't easy years, but financially they end up being a win on the back end. So try to stay with that him or her, because it will pay off after some of them headaches, after you take some Advil and some Tylenol, and it will pay off on the back end. Can this process be used in other states? If not, where do they get the information? I'm presuming that you're talking about transfer and death instruments.
So with transfer and death instruments, you're going to, state to state, there might be nuanced differences. So the transfer and death instrument that we have here in the state of Illinois is for the state of Illinois. If you're looking at outside of the state of Illinois, each state might have its own set of laws. And so it's important to inquire with a lawyer who's licensed in that other state and familiar with that estate planning in that state, and inquire with that person. It's very important to remember that yes, we're one nation, but we have 50 states and 50 different sets of laws, and it gets even more complex as we go. For example, I want to tell you that the toady fee is $50. It might actually be $50 different. It's not the same $50 outside of Cook County. In Cook County, it's $50 because it's a county ordinance. And so see how it gets more nuanced as you get closer and closer to where you live. And so again, if you've got property outside of this state, that's amazing, that's awesome. You know, hopefully it's a vacation home. Check with a lawyer in that state.
Here's another question about marriage. Question is, what if my first husband passed away? Will I or the current wife get the estate? And so, well, if boy, that's kind of I could really have a whole segment on that. But the bottom line is, you have to have current estate planning, because theoretically the current wife is going to get her portion. But here's what we see often: husband or wife, spouse passes away. They have quite a bit of property, 3 or 4 homes, sometimes quite a bit of money, and they get remarried. And even if there is no estate planning, even though they may have only been married a year or two before they may pass away, that second spouse will get half of everything. And then the biological children are up in arms because let's say in this case, the wife of their dad, after their mom has passed away, is going to get half of all the property that mom and dad accumulated over a lifetime. And it is unbelievable, all because there was no estate planning. So, but theoretically, if you are married and you got divorced and you are remarried, and if you don't have any estate planning, then the second spouse is going to be entitled to half, and the biological children will be entitled to the other half. That's what the state will, that's the state's plan for your affairs if you don't have them in order yourself. Another quick story. I had a client who was married to her husband for about 8 years, and he passed away at the age of 48 years old. He was a UPS driver out the place in Bedford Park, passed away unexpectedly at work, had a $500,000 life insurance, never changed the beneficiary from the first wife. First wife got $500,000 lump sum tax-free, all because he just did not update his beneficiaries. The second wife was my client, and she was not happy. So please make sure you take care of these things. If you have no children, can you divide it to your sisters and brothers? You know what? So often people who don't have children, who are not married, they leave their things to their brothers and their sisters. I'll tell you, a lot of my ladies, a lot of my clients who are ladies, who are not college graduates and who have done well for themselves because they didn't have children, never married, accumulated quite a bit of money at homes, they leave their money to colleges. A lot of our clients, ladies who have never been to college, they leave their homes and their money to Spelman. So here's the thing that black people should be more interested in too. We do have to support our institutions. We do have to support our churches. We do have to support our colleges. We do have to support Operation Push. These institutions are valuable to us, and we can even support them once we pass away. So, but in order to do that, you do have to have estate planning. You cannot do it if you pass away with nothing. Let's see. If a property has a pending mortgage, do you recommend having the mortgage obtain a life insurance policy to pay off the mortgage in addition to a total document? Well, if you can afford life insurance to pay off a mortgage, that would be a great thing. But typically, you're going to need to do that when you buy the house because you're buying the house at a younger age. Life insurance is going to be less expensive at a younger age. It's very difficult to get insurance if it's 70 years old to pay off a mortgage. So if you're getting a mortgage, and this is information you have to tell your children and your grandchildren. When you buy this house, talk to an insurance broker, get $250,000, $500,000 worth of insurance. It's much cheaper when you're 30, 32, 33. I wish someone would have told me that before I got to be an old man. Okay, and I would have loaded up on insurance. But so tell your children and grandchildren because they may not have that information as well. Life insurance is a plus, but you have to get it when you're younger because it's just much more affordable when you're younger. I have a savings banking account and have identified a beneficiary. Should I still complete a payable on death instrument? I can take that. Well, the payable on death is the same thing as a beneficiary. So they are one and the same. So some banks call them beneficiaries, some call them payable on death, some are transfer on death. They are all the same. Once you go to heaven and be with the ancestors, you have named someone to get the money after you. You do not want to have your children's names on your accounts. You do not want to put your children's names on your property. I've seen horrible things that children and grandchildren have done to their parents and grandparents. Unbelievable things. So you want to set it up where they'll get your money and your real estate once you are with the ancestors, not while you are living. Because if you do that, if they are sued, they can collect from your bank accounts and put the lien on your home. So please don't do that. Can you make a random person power of attorney? I don't know what a random person is. You would not want to make a random person your power of attorney. You want to know who it is that you're named to be in a position to make decisions for you, both healthcare and business matters, because they're going to be able to exercise a lot of information in terms of decision making for you. Yes, sir.
All right, what I mean by that is, like I'm saying, a person that you're not married to, but who is your significant other.
Sure.
So that's what I meant about
Yes, you
random
can name
person.
anyone that you want to be in a position to make healthcare and business decisions for you. It does not have to be a spouse nor a child. Whoever you want it to be, you would name them in the document, and then they would be the ones in a position to make decisions for you. Typically, you can name a primary person and a secondary person to be in a position to make decisions for you, but everyone needs power of attorneys. If you don't have them, after you hear this information, frankly, you're being delinquent. Well, you do have to update and review your estate plan periodically because things change. People get divorced. There's some people you don't even like anymore. People you haven't talked to anymore. People you don't even know where they are anymore. People you have divorced. So you do have to review these things every 5 years or so and make sure that they are current as of today. That's in terms of beneficiaries on your account and who's going to get your home. Typically, when someone goes to heaven, there's really only two issues that people are really, families are dealing with: who's going to get the home and who's going to get the money. Okay, they are not concerned about that 40-year-old fur coat with the face still on it, like my grandmother used to have. They're not fighting over that. They're fighting over who's going to get the money and who's going to get the house. And because those have a lot of value, so don't waste time thinking about some fox stole. Then you can have that. Okay. Comment, get a proper market analysis on appraisal before you decide to sell a house. Okay, someone's asking about selling a house. Should you get a proper market analysis or appraisal before you sell your house? Well, if you're going to sell your house, your real estate broker is going to help you find a listing price. They're going to do the market analysis for you. You do not have to pay for that. You would just contact a real estate broker, and we have one in our office, and then they're going to do the numbers for you and present a price that you should list the property at. Question? A lot of what kind of companies?
There's a lot of companies that are, trying to get your property at a very low price, and they come and offer you cash. They could offer you $50,000 when your property is really worth $150,000. So if there's a doubt, there's unethical brokers as well. Not everybody, but a few. And so if there's a doubt, get a second, third opinion.
Well, let's be clear about that. So the issue that she's raising is when people are trying to buy your home, should you get a market analysis? Well, let's stop it right here. When these people are soliciting to buy your home, they are not going to buy your home at market value, period. So anyone that's calling you and sending you these letters, can I buy your home? They are trying to get the home at under market value. So even if you get a market analysis, it doesn't matter because they're not buying it for that. Okay, so if you want to sell your home, get a broker. They're going to get you closer to market value. These people are calling your home. These people are on the commercials saying, we'll buy your home, leave it like it is. You're not getting anywhere close to market value. Okay, and again, there's a lot of market value in the African-American community. Some of you have a lot of market value in your homes. Please protect it. Please protect it. And protect it by getting some estate planning, protect it by knowing how much your home is worth. You can just go on a website, put your address in, and it'll tell you approximately how much your home is worth for free. And the good news about that, normally those values are relatively low. So your home is probably going to be worth more than showing up on the internet. One of my favorite sites is Redfin, REDFIN. You can go to Redfin, put your address in, and your property value approximate value will come up. And again, typically I have found that number is low. Okay, we have one final question. Whoever wrote this, you got beautiful handwriting. I wish I could write like this. Regarding the question about the transfer of vehicles, the vehicle referred the Secretary of State beneficiary affidavit. Would you complete the document as opposed to signing the title prior to your death, or should you do both? I am in favor of. So the question is, there is a affidavit of heirship on the Secretary of State's website where one could, after one has passed away, if the car is paid for the heir to fill that form out and be able to get the property, get the car. So the question was, should you wait until the person has passed away to do the small estate affidavit, or should you sign the title while you're living? I personally favor and encourage my clients to sign the title while you're living. Put it in the file. In the file and folder that we give you with all the other documents, so everything will be there. But if you haven't done that, or if a family member has not done that and they pass away and the car is paid for, yes, you can still go and do the process that they spoke about, doing the small estate affidavit at the Secretary of State's office. Me personally, I prefer my clients signing the titles to the cars and put them with all the other documents, and then everything will be there for the family member. When people pass away, it's always stressful enough. And oftentimes people don't know where the documents are, they don't know where the information is, they don't know where the financial accounts are, they don't know where the insurance is, and it becomes a real mess. So get your things in order, put them in a safe place, let the good kid know that you've done it and where they are. And for most of you, that's going to be sufficient.
How about, ooh, look at that. How is that for free information? Isn't that awesome? I thank God for Attorney London and for Kang Trin. They always have great insight with regard to all of this. So I hope that you got an enormous amount of information from our presentation, from the answers that our attorneys gave, and just for just being here to get it. But you gotta remember, you gotta use it. It's no benefit to you if you don't use it. The attorneys are here for you to ask questions of. We have legal aid in the back. You want to come up and say a few words? Ms. Petrola, she's one of our community partners from Legal Aid Chicago, and she can tell you a little bit about what they do. So just give all of our attorneys a round of applause because they've done a phenomenal job.
Well, I just want to say it's a privilege to be here. My name is Melissa Petrola. I work for Legal Aid Chicago. We will provide free legal services, including transfer on death instruments, including powers of attorney for health care and finance. We have no income limits if you're over the age of 60 and living in Cook County. And we also provide other areas of civil help, including criminal records relief, eviction help, divorce, if there's domestic violence. We provide employment help as well. So I'm in the back. I have all of our information. I'm happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
Yes. Carlos, what will the link be that they can access after this event? Did you get it? They can't hear you.
Hello.
Okay, so while they're doing that, let's give everybody a great big hand. We got some gifts we're going to give away. Do you have a ticket?
You can go to www.cookcountyclerk.com/PAD resources, and a link to the presentation will be on there. You can also go on YouTube. It should be under Property After Death Presentation, Cook County Clerk, and that's where you can find it on YouTube.
There should be a slide at the end of our presentation that gives the information on how to contact our office. If anybody's interested in having one of these in their community or their church community, what we ask is that you at least try to get 50 people in attendance, partner with other partners in your community to maximize that attendance, and you can contact me, Robin Staggers, at 312-603-3974. I'll repeat it, 312-603-3974. 603-3974. And I'm the Deputy Clerk for Community Engagement for the Clerk's Office, and I'll be happy to help you or guide you to people that can give you assistance, but we cannot answer legal questions. Now, if you want to sign up for the Property Fraud Alert, our staff will pass the forms out to you. You fill them out. You don't have to have your PIN number. You sign it and date it. We'll take those Property Fraud Alert registrations back to our office, record them in our system, and once they're recorded in our system, if anybody tries to record anything on your chain of title or your deed, you'll get an alert. Even if you take out a mortgage or there's a transaction that you initiate, you'll get an alert. So you can get an alert by phone or you can get it by email, okay? So thank you so much. Yes, ma'am. Yes, you can sign your mom up. You can sign up for a relative. Yes, you can.
Let's give Robin a big applause.
And on behalf of the Cook County Clerk, Karen A. Yarborough, who is it?
Karen A. Yarborough.
We appreciate being able to come out here in the community and speak with you, and it's just an honor to be here.
Thank you so much. Give her another applause.